If you're in B2B sales, chances are you're using LinkedIn, but far too many sales professionals do not have an optimized LinkedIn profile, and it's costing them thousands and even hundreds and even millions of dollars of deals they could have closed just because they're not able to connect with the target persona. You know it and I know it. LinkedIn is the superior tool for B2B sales professionals. But the problem is that far too many sales professionals have leads that are connecting dust in the form of connections, or they're unable to turn those connections into booked meetings or even connect with the buyers they're trying to connect with in the first place. And it's all because their LinkedIn profile isn't optimized correctly. In today's video, I'm gonna give you 5 tips to optimize your LinkedIn profile so you can 3 and 4x the amount of new meetings you book and close more deals. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Eric Fisher and I'm founder of Elevate Sales Academy. We're a B2B sales coaching program for account executives in tech sales, as well as other B2B sales professionals. But I've also been selling in B2B sales for the last 16 years. I've hit 14 straight President's Clubs, and I've sold over $160 million in that time. But I've also been on LinkedIn for almost 2 decades now. And through that time, I figured out what works and what doesn't on LinkedIn when it comes to optimizing your profile. So let's jump right in. Now, before we get to what you should write on your LinkedIn profile to optimize it properly, let's talk about the obvious. You need to have a LinkedIn profile picture that is appropriate for your audience. Now, if you're a sales professional, my opinion is you should be dressed professionally or at least business casual in your LinkedIn profile picture. As you can see in mine, I've got a nice dress shirt on and a sports coat, but whatever gender you are, dress gender appropriate. This professional, because the people you're selling to are business professionals. You want them to take you seriously. So whether you're female, male, or whatever you identify as gender-wise, you should dress professionally so that they take you seriously. Remember, this is the first impression you're going to make. There are so many sales professionals that are wearing t-shirts, or they're using their Facebook profile picture or their Instagram profile picture on LinkedIn. Remember, LinkedIn is a business social media platform. It's not Instagram. It's not Facebook. It's not TikTok. It's not Snapchat. So use a business appropriate profile picture, and better yet, go get a professional headshot taken. It's not expensive. In fact, if you work in an office, there's a lot of times big corporate buildings will offer free headshots for anybody who's a tenant in the building. So pay attention to those things. But if you do have to go pay, it's usually less than $100, but it's well worth it because you're going to have a professional photographer take the picture and it's going to turn out great. I think mine looks okay for a bald-headed guy. So the second part and the second most important piece for tip 1 is you have to have a great headline if you want your LinkedIn profile to be optimized. Now on mine, I used to have something that was not optimized, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But the first thing you want to look at is what most people use as their headline is their job title. So for me, Senior Services Account Executive, and then they list the company obviously they work for. So for me, that's Tech Systems. Now, while that is what most people do, that doesn't mean it's right. The reason why most people don't actually optimize their LinkedIn headlines because they're not really sure what to write. They just assume that the buyers that they're targeting are going to go, oh, you're in sales and you work for Gong or you work for Microsoft, so I know exactly what you sell. But the fact is that most companies sell a wide array of different products and services. And if you don't work for a brand name company with a recognizable logo and you're going after a prospect, they may not know what it is you sell. So if you're not a top company in your industry and you don't have a name that's recognizable, you better specifically call out who it is you help, what it is you help them with, and how you help them. Like, what's the vehicle? So let's look at mine. So obviously, like I said, I've got my job title, Senior Services Account Executive. I work for Tech Systems, and this is the part I'm talking about. So who is it that I help? I help IT leaders. So those are the personas I go after, right? Those are the job titles. That's my target audience. What do I help them with? I help them drive transformation and innovation. And how do I help them do that? I help them do that through full stack IT services. Now, I'm pretty broad in exactly how I explain this. And the reason is that I sell lots of different services. There are hundreds, if not thousands of different service offerings that my company has. So I have to be more broad. But if you sell a very specific niche or you sell 2, 3, 4 different types of products, and that's your main core set of products you sell, you should call those out as specific as you can. But more specifically, what is the transformation that you're going to help them with? What's the outcome that you're going to help them with? So while I'm talking about transformation and innovation, that can mean a lot of different things, but that is pretty common language within IT services. Full stack IT service services in my industry is also very well known. That means that you sell lots of different IT services across the entire IT continuum. So that's why it's important for me to list it this way. But again, if you're selling something more specific, I would urge you to be as specific as you can be about, again, who it is you help, what you help them with, and how you help them. What's the vehicle? Now stick around to the very end of this video, because the last tip I'm going to give you, most sales professionals mess up on their LinkedIn profile and it's costing them thousands of dollars. It's like free advertising on LinkedIn saying you should work with me, I'm great. Now the second piece that's really important that you optimize is your about section. And I see this messed up all the time by sales reps, and it's because frankly, I don't even know if it's their fault, but generally what I see is they go and copy something from their website or some social media kit their company gives them, and it's marketing jargon. And while it might be the corporate language that they want you to use, you can still edit it to be more specific to your audience so you can stand out, so that after someone gets your LinkedIn connection request, or maybe you already have that connection request and they forgot who you were and you send them a DM to connect and start a conversation, they forget who you are. They're going to go back to your LinkedIn profile and they're going to see, again, your job title, they're going to see the company you work for, they're going to see your headline, which better stand out, and then they're going to scroll down to the about section. The about section, as you can see, again, this is my profile, so there's some stuff in between here. So when someone's looking at your profile, they're going to go right down to the about section and they're going to read this typically, and they might go, well, what is Tech Systems, if they don't know what my company does? And they might say, well, who is Eric Fisher? Well, I get really specific and I say I help life sciences organizations solve complex business and technology problems through Tech Systems Global Services full stack IT service offerings. Now, what's key here is that I specifically call out the industry that I sell to. So I sell IT services, but I specifically sell to life sciences companies. And that includes pharmaceutical companies, biotechnology companies, medical device companies, diagnostic companies. And so I want to make sure that they know that I am hyper focused on their industry, because that makes me stand out more. And it also alludes to the fact that I probably have more knowledge than some Joe Schmo that's just a generalist. The more specific you can be as a sales rep, the more business acumen you have, the better chances are that you're going to be looked at as an advisor and someone who has knowledge that can be beneficial to the buyer that you're trying to have a conversation with and set that new meeting. Now, the other part of my about section that is important is that I want to call out that we are a top 20 global systems integrator. Now, why is that important? Well, there are lots of different IT services companies in the industry. In fact, it's $1 trillion industry. So to say that we're a top 20 global systems integrator in the world, that's important. That puts us on the map. Now, that may not be the situation you're in, but maybe you have something specific that your company does that can make you stand out. And I'm not talking about marketing jargon. I'm not talking about saying we're the top number one this, because nobody actually believes that. But when there's actual ratings by companies like Gartner and Forrester to say that you are a top 20 company or a top 50 company in your industry, either by revenue, capability, it's important to list those things. But I actually tie it to something even more specific. And what I tie it to is the integral partnerships with the largest and most transformative tech companies in the world. Now, why is that important? Well, for my industry, I'm selling to Fortune 500 companies. And because I sell to those large enterprises, they almost all use Microsoft, AWS, Google, Red Hat, Snowflake, and lots of other companies that we have partnerships with because they have their software solutions in their organization or they're looking at purchasing them. And so when I tie the fact that not only are we a top 20 global systems integrator, but we also have those partnerships, when I send someone a connection request, they are more inclined to not only accept my connection request, but when I send them a DM to start a conversation, they're more likely to reply because my about section resonates with things in their environment. And so you want to try to do that as much as you can. And the more specific you can be with the industry that you sell to, the technologies that you support, the better off you're going to be, because you want it to feel like you're talking directly to that person. The more general you are, the less it feels like you were made for them. And you want them to feel like you were made to talk to them because you help people just like them in their industry, as much as you can. And so just take some time to think about, how can I write this about section to cater toward my specific audience that I have the highest likelihood of helping them solve a business problem. Now, the last part of the about section specific to TEKsystems that I talk about is specifically what we help customers with, like what's the vehicle, like I talked about in the headline. So I say we strive to help our customers transform their business and better serve their markets through flexible digital service offerings in cloud data analytics, generative AI, modern workplace technologies, and risk and security. Now, why do I do that? I do that because those are all the different technology domains that we have services in. And because I sell to a lot of different IT leaders, I want them to feel included in what we sell. So if I'm reaching out to somebody who's a cybersecurity leader, I've got them covered. If I'm reaching out to somebody who is in data analytics, I've got them covered. I'm specific because I want them to know we have capabilities in those areas, and that I'm not just a generalist, that these are areas that we have strong capabilities and solutions to help them solve problems. Now, the last part of the about section I want to cover is if you have a side hustle or you have some other organization you're involved in, you want to separate that out from your core job duties. Okay, so I own and run Elevate Sales Academy, which is a B2B sales coaching program, but it has nothing to do with TEKsystems. And I call that out, that outside of TEKsystems and with no affiliation, I also own and operate Elevate Sales Academy, a B2B sales coaching and trading program for individual sales professionals who are looking to sell more in order to help customers solve meaningful business problems, blah, blah, blah. The reason I separate that out is because, number one, I don't want it to have any affiliation with my employer. But the second reason I have it second is because 99% of my income comes from TEKsystems. While I do really well in my coaching business, the money I make as a sales rep far outweighs the revenue I bring in through Elevate Sales Academy. And that's by design. My number one thing is TEKsystems. And one of the mistakes I actually made earlier on when I started Elevate Sales Academy is I put B2B sales coach in my headline next to account executive. And I noticed that when I was sending connection requests out, people were not as inclined to accept them. I was getting a lot of connection requests that were just in a pending status. And then I removed the B2B sales coach piece because I was like, something's causing friction here. And then boom, I started sending more connection requests to new target buyers I was going after. And what do you know? I started getting acceptance again on those connection requests. So just make sure that you keep the main thing the main thing. If you have another business or something else you're involved in, just make sure that it's separated out so that you don't confuse the connections that you're trying to make on LinkedIn. Now, as we're moving along here, the third tip I want to give you is that you need to be posting content that is going to relate to your target audience. Just having a LinkedIn profile and never posting, number one, it does not work the algorithm. There's an algorithm on all social media sites. Most of you know that. But if you never post content or don't ever share content, you're never using the algorithm to your advantage. Yes, you might show up in people's searches if they're looking to hire people like you, which is fine. But I use LinkedIn not to get another job. I use LinkedIn to prospect, make connections, build relationships, and then take those connections offline into a meeting and eventually try to close business or at least maintain that relationship for the future. They might be able to introduce someone to me down the road, and I might be able to do the same for them. And so one of the ways that I'm going to use that algorithm is I'm going to post valuable content that's relatable to my audience. And so as you can see here, I posted 20 minutes ago, and I actually was resharing a post that my company posted about business technology trends in 2024. And it was one of our technology leaders talking about business modernization and generative AI. Now, oftentimes what I'll do is I will share something, but sharing a post is not as valuable as adding your own thoughts. If you want to be looked at as a thought leader, what I would encourage you to do is if you're going to be sharing a lot of your own company's content, which is what I typically do, put some of your own thought into it. So you can see here, I've written and taken some time to write my own thoughts on this post when it comes to generative AI. When you do that, you're not only creating your own thoughts and becoming more of a thought leader and creating your own brand, and your customers and your connection requests are going to notice that you are thinking about these things. You're not just reposting things over and over like a robot, but it also helps the algorithm make and suggest new connection requests for you, making the tool work even stronger for you. You want to leverage the platform to the best ability. You want to be able to leverage LinkedIn's algorithm to the best of your ability. And if you want connection requests to come more organically, I would encourage you to share content with your own thoughts. Now, one of the things that I used to never do, and I still don't do that often, but I actually was on a meeting with a customer with one of my colleagues the other day, is I never posted personal content. And the reason I never did that was because I felt like, you know what, this isn't Facebook, this isn't Instagram, this isn't TikTok, this isn't Snapchat, this is a business platform. But when I was on this meeting with one of my colleagues who's a little bit younger than me, she had shared something about golfing with her dad. And we're on this meeting with the customer who was already connected with her. And the customer actually said, I loved what you shared on LinkedIn. I actually have a similar relationship with my dad. We like to golf together, and it's something that I love to do with him. And that was something that was extremely personal. And that's how we started out our meeting, just because she posted something personal. LinkedIn has changed over the years. It used to be just strictly business. And now I think there's a little bit too much on the personal side. But while I would have encouraged you in the past to never post anything personal about your personal life, I think that's changed. And I do think every now and then posting something about your personal life that's meaningful to you, it resonates with people on LinkedIn because it is a social platform. You are connecting with the human element. And so from time to time, if there's something that happened in your company and it resonated with you personally, definitely share those things. And I actually did that. I posted something not too long ago, and it was something that was really personal to me. And that was that we have what's called Partners Day at my company. And Partners Day is a great time where we recognize people that have equity in our company. But what I also posted is that same day is Down Syndrome Awareness Day. And while that's important to me is because my son has Down syndrome, and my company and my office actually supported me by wearing crazy socks, which is something we do in the Down syndrome community to honor those who have Down syndrome and support people in that community. And so I posted that, and I got a lot of different shares and likes. I got 170 different likes on that. And a lot of it was from connections, not just my colleagues that I work with. And so definitely take the time to share things that are meaningful, either in your company or your personal life, every now and then, because it does make that human connection stronger with your current connections. And when you connect with new people and they do start scrolling down your posts and they see something, you never know. You might post something that strikes a chord with them, and they're more likely to strike up a conversation with you the first time you message them, or maybe they message you first, and now you've got a really strong entry point into that conversation, and it's not about business, and then you can transition into the business part of the conversation. Now, moving along, the fourth tip I have for you is listing your certifications and licenses. And the reason this is important, specifically if you're in tech sales, is it's important that you are not a generalist, like I said before. So a lot of our customers have AWS services in their environment. A lot of our customers have Google services. They have Microsoft services, or software, I should say, in their environment. And so I've gone through AWS partner training to become an AWS cloud practitioner. So I know a fair amount about AWS cloud services. And that's important because the customers that I sell to have this in their environment. And so the more that I know, the more that it's going to resonate with my buyers that may be using this technology. So if you have certifications like that, or training, or you've received different types of training in your company, I would encourage you to list those licenses and certifications. I also have another certification called Duke Coaching for Excellence, which is through Duke University. And the reason this is important is that, number one, if I ever wanted to get another job, I've been through executive coaching, and that's helpful. But also for Elevate Sales Academy, I know how to properly coach people. I'm not just trying to train people off a whim. I know the proper techniques and strategies to be the best coach I can be in a lead position, which is something that I do in my day-to-day job right now, which has made me a whole lot better. And also, I think the thing you want to think about is that these certifications and licenses, while it might be a test you take, it may not be, it shows that you're investing in your continuing education. And if you're in tech sales, most of your customers continually invest in themselves, self-education, new skills, and you should be doing the same because they want to connect with like-minded people. Now, the final tip I have for you, which is extremely important, and like I said earlier in the video, it's like free advertising, is recommendations. I have not leveraged this very well recently because I've been selling to some major enterprise customers for a number of years now, but early on in my career, I asked every customer that I had a really good experience with, that I know we delivered great work for, to give me a strong recommendation. And you should be doing the same. This is something that I'm going to start doing again because I work with so many different life sciences companies. And frankly, while it's a huge community, a lot of them know each other. I can get VPs at these large Fortune 50, Fortune 100 companies to give me a strong recommendation on LinkedIn. That's like free advertising to tell other life sciences IT leaders that, hey, you should work with Eric. So if you have those situations, go back through your recent wins, go connect with customer success, and go back to your customer and say, hey, we delivered a great outcome for you when you do your QBR, your quarterly business review, and you're reviewing the progress that you've made as a company through the transformation you helped them with or whatever business outcome you helped them with, and you know that they had a really good experience, ask them to give you a recommendation on LinkedIn. It's really easy. You just go over to that person's profile and you ask them to give you a recommendation. I'm not going to do that on this video, but if you have questions on that, put it in the comments down below. But this is such an easy way to get free advertising on LinkedIn. So when you go connect with somebody, they scroll down your profile and they say, oh, this VP at or this C-level person at this company gave Eric a strong recommendation. You know what? I should probably connect with this individual. He obviously does good work. It's such an easy way to create a better experience on LinkedIn, not just for you, but the people that you're connecting with. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Go optimize your LinkedIn profile today. And hey, if you're an account executive and you're not hitting your number, or you're not where you want to be in your career and you're looking for financial freedom, click the link down below if you're interested in one-on-one B2B sales coaching. Or I have a brand new community for account executives called Elevate Sales Academy On Demand. It's like Netflix for sales. It's on-demand training. You can work at your own pace. It's self-paced, and you actually get a 7-day free trial so you can test drive Elevate Sales Academy On Demand. And if you want to stay, it's a subscription model. If you want to leave after that, no worries. I'm trying to give back to the sales community because sales done so much for me in my career and in my life. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.